Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to continue working on the cart. So here, if the cart is not, if the cart is already set, it means that if there is something in the cart. However, suppose that this is the first time that the user is adding something to the cart. So here we need to say else. Else here, if this is the first product, if user is adding first product to cart, then all we need to do now, in case the user is adding the first product, all we need to do is that we need to get that product. The code is going to be the same. The same as this. We just need to get that product and add it to cart without checking the session, because at this point the session has not been initialized, which means that the product surely is not in the cart, has not been added to cart. So all we need to do at this point is that we need to copy this part, and then paste it here in this else. So at this point, if the user is adding the first product to cart, we just need to get the product ID, and then we get the product info, and then we add all of them to the session. We add that product to the session. So this is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. And lastly, a very important thing that we need to do is that we need to add a post request, because whenever a user comes to this page, first we need to use the post request. At the top we can say if, and then is set, and then post, and then add underscore to cart, and then all we need to do now is to copy all of this code that we created, all of it. Let me copy all of it, all of this PHP code. Let me copy it, and then I'm gonna remove it, and then I'm gonna paste it inside this if statement, inside this add to cart. So this, let me paste it here now. This now is going to check first if user, let me push this first. This is going to be inside. So this is going to be inside the post request, because we need to make sure that the user has clicked on this button to add a product to cart using the post request. Pretty simple. So now you need to click on save all, and we are done with this part. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to display the products that we added to the session here. We need to loop over the products and display them. So what I'm going to do is that here above this TR, we need to use the session. So here I'm going to say PHP, and then I'm going to say here PHP, and then I'm going to first check if the session is set or not. So I'm going to say if session, if is set first, if is set, session cart, and then curly bracket, and then in another line we need to create another PHP. We need to say PHP, and then if, and then for each we need to loop over the products. We need to say for each, and then session cart as key value, as key value, where the key is the product ID, and the value is the product information. And here curly bracket, and then we need to close this PHP, and then below this TR we need to, below this TR, let me show you where it is. This TR, only this TR, we need to close two curly brackets, because we have if statement and we have for each. So we need to say here PHP, and then curly bracket, and then another PHP, and then curly bracket. And that's it. Now, between we need to display the product info. So the first thing is the image. For the image, we need to remove this static image, and then we need to say PHP, and then echo, and what we want to echo is that we want to echo first the assets / images / dot, and then we use the value, and then product image. Here, by the way, value and then product image. And then for the price, we need to say here PHP, and then echo product, and then value product price, value, and then product price. And then after that, we have also the here the product price, and then we have the quantity. So the quantity is going to be displayed inside the input here. I'm going to say PHP, and then here echo value product quantity, here product quantity. And then we have also the product price one more time, so we also need to display the product quantity one more time, the product price one more time. So here I'm going to say PHP, and then echo, and then value product price. We here also for this total, we need to say if it's empty, we don't need to display this number. So we after this total, we need to say if, we need to say PHP, and then if is set, only if is set session, if the session is set session cart PHP, then we need to display this number, and I'm going to calculate the number later, but only if the session is set. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to test the cart page, and to test the cart, before we test, we need to give this input a name. So I'm going to give this input name. I'm going to say name, and the name is going to be add _to _cart. Make sure that you add this. Name is add to cart to this submit button. Let's save and let me test now. So I'm gonna go back to the products page. I'm gonna say here products.php, and then I'm gonna try to add a product to the cart. I'm gonna click on order, and as you can see, this is gonna add the product to the cart. But we have a problem with the image. So let me check the image in the cart here. In the cart, we need to make sure here the image, we need to say assets and then / images, not img, images. Let me now refresh, and as you can see, we have the image here being displayed, which is amazing. For this remove, we need to remove the background. So let me remove the background. Here we have the remove button, this remove in the cart. We have this remove. Let me show you where it is. This is the remove button. We need to say here style, and then background none. And also the color, I'm going to say background none, and then the color is going to be white. white. Let me save and let me test. I'm gonna refresh. And this is how it's gonna look like. So now it looks amazing. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to work on the remove button so that once the user clicks on it, it removes the product from the cart. So let me head on over to the project to work on it. In the cart.php, we need to add, remember we have here if statement that's going to check whether the user added a product to cart or not. And here what we need to do is that we need to say else if, and then we need to check if the remove button has been clicked or not. So here I'm going to say else if, and then here in this else if we can start working on removing a product. So we need to learn we need to know where is the product, where is the remove button. So here is the remove button, this remove button. So this remove button, we need to give it action and method. So the action is going to be the same page. I'm going to say cart.php, cart.php. And then we need a method. So the method is post request. We need to say post. And then what we want to do is that we want to give this input a name. I'm going to say name remove underscore btn. Now we can check whether this button clicked or not using if statement here. So here I'm going to say else if is set, and then post, if is set post remove underscore btn, then we need to remove that product from the cart. However, we need to know which product. Therefore, here in this form, we need to pass the product ID, because only using the product ID we can remove a product. Therefore here I'm going to say input, and then I'm going to say hidden, and then I'm going to store the product ID here in this hidden field. I'm going to say value. So the value is going to be PHP, and then I'm going to say echo, and then what I'm going to echo is that I'm going to echo the value, which is the product, and then we need the product ID. So we need to say product. Here we need to access the product ID. So the product ID will be stored in this field, and we need to give this field a name as well. We need to say here name is equal to product underscore ID. Now here in the if statement, we can access that product ID and we can remove it from the session. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to first access the product ID. I'm going to say product ID is equal to post and then product ID. And then what we need to do is that we need to use this ID to remove the product from the cart. And to remove a product from the cart, we need to use the onset method. Onset, and then we pass the session, and then in that session we want to access the cart, and then we want to access that specific product. So we need to access the product ID. So this line of code would remove that product from the cart. Pretty simple. And that's it. We just return to the same page. So we just here display the same content. Nothing else we need to do. And else, we need to say here else and keep it empty for now. Pretty simple. Let's now test. Let me here click on file and then save all. And so let me now test. In order to test, first we need to refresh the page in order for the changes to take effect. I'm gonna refresh, and then I'm gonna click on remove. Let me click on remove, and boom, the product has been removed from the cart. So it worked successfully. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to work on the quantity. For example, if the user wants to buy 2 or 3 or more pizzas, then they must change this number. But of course, after they change this number, we need to activate or multiply this by 1 pizza so that we get the total amount. So here the user will be able to set the number of meals, number of pizzas they want to buy, and then after they click on edit, then the amount will will be calculated. The subtotal will be calculated, and the total will be calculated. So let's head on over to the project to work on it. To work on this, we need to add another else if. So we need here to say, else if, and then here we need to say is set, and then post, and then edit button, or edit, let's say edit quantity button, and we need to work on that button. Remember here, for that edit button, we have here we have this edit button. So for this edit button, first we need to give it a name. We need to say name, and the name is going to be edit underscore quantity underscore btn. And the form, this form, we need to give it two things. We need to give it method and action. The method is post. The action is the same page, which is cart.php. However, we need to pass with us again we need to pass with us the product ID. So I'm going to here say input hidden, and then name is product ID, name product underscore ID, and value. The value is the product ID, which is PHP echo, and then we echo the value product ID, and we need also to pass with us the quantity. To do this, we need here, for this number, we need to give it also a name. We need to say here name, and the name is going to be equal to product underscore quantity, and the value is the value. We need to work on the logic. So here, remember, we have this else if. In this else if, the first thing that we need to do is that we need to access the product ID. So I'm going to say here product ID is equal to post product ID, and then what we want to do is that we want to get also the product quantity. So I'm going to say product quantity, which is obviously going to be equal to post product quantity, and then we just need to we just want to access the product from the session. So we need to say here session, we need to get the product from the session, and to get the product from the session we need to say session cart, and then we need to get that specific product. So I'm going to say here product, I'm going to say session cart, and then I'm going to access that product using its ID, which is the product ID, and then I'm going to store it in a variable called product. So this is the product that we want to update. Product is equal to cart product ID. This is going to return the product from the cart. Now what we want to do is that we want to access the quantity field. Remember, this product is an array with key value pairs, where each key represents something. Each key could represents product name. We have the product name, for example. We have the product name, and then here the name, for example, table. We have also the product quantity, which is a number, for example 6. So we need to access this product quantity. We need to access the product quantity of that array. So to do this, we need to say here product, and then product quantity, and then we need to update that product quantity. So to update that product quantity, we store the new quantity, which is the product quantity that we got from the user. So I'm going to say here product quantity. So again, let me explain this. We get the product ID, we get the product quantity, we access the product that has been stored in the session, and then we access the quantity, the old quantity, and then we store the new quantity into the old one. So the old one will be removed and the new one will be stored in place of the old one. And finally, we put the product back into the session. So we say session cart product ID product. That's it. That's it. We are now good. So let me now test. In order to test, we need to set a number, for example, this number, and then I'm going to click on edit. So if I click on edit, as you can see, the total now is 151 because 4 pizzas would cost $151. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to calculate the total. So if we have more than one item here, what we want to do is that we want to add the subtotals up. If you add the subtotal of the first product, and if you have another product, you add the subtotal to it, you will get the total. So we need to calculate this total. Let me head on over to the project to work on it. Here, multiply here, we can do the multiplication here. So remember here in the for each loop, we have here this. So we have this product price. We can here multiply the product price, multiply by value, and then product quantity. Need to create a function that would do all of this. So what I'm gonna do is that here, whenever we add something to the cart, whether it's the first product or whether it's a new product, then after that, we always need to update or increase or calculate, I should say, calculate total cart. We always need to do this whenever we add something to the cart. So whenever we add something to the cart, we need to do this. So here we need to call this function, and also here whenever we remove something from the cart, after we remove, we need to calculate total cart. And here also whenever we update the cart, we need here to calculate total cart. So we need now to create a function that would do this. Let me here create a new function. I'm going to say function, and then I'm going to say calculate total cart. Calculate total cart. So to calculate the total cart, we need to access all of the products and get all of the prices and all of the quantities and add them up. So we need to add them up, and to do this, we need to access the session first. I'm going to access the session. I'm going to first say here, before this, we actually need to say total price is equal to 0, and also the total quantity is equal to 0. And then we need to loop over all of the products, and to do this, we need to say the for each loop, for each, and then we access the session cart, and then we get each single product. So I'm going to say session cart as key value, where the key is the product ID and the value is the product itself. So we access the key value. If you don't want to say key value, you can say ID product, because the key is the ID and the value is the product. And now we need to access each single product. So I'm going to say product, and each single product is going to be equal to session cart ID. This is the product. Once we get the product, we need to get its price. So we need to get the price. The price is going to be equal to the product price. And we also need to access the quantity. So the quantity is going to be equal to product product quantity, product quantity, and then we now multiply the price by the quantity and then add everything up. So we need to say total now, the total price is going to be equal to the old total price, which is initially going to be 0, plus the price multiplied by the quantity. So this is the total price. The total quantity is total quantity. The total quantity is going to be equal to the all total quantity plus the quantity plus the new quantity. So after we do all of this, we store this in the session. So we can here say after the for each, we can create a new key in the session. We can say session, and then the key is going to be total, and the total is going to be equal to total price. And we create another key for the quantity if you want to use it. I'm going to say quantity. The quantity is going to be equal to the total quantity. And to do this, we need to call this function every time we update the session. So every time we add something to the session, for example here, we need to call the calculate total cart, and also here, whenever we remove something from the cart, we need to calculate the total. And also here, whenever we edit the quantity of a specific product, we need to calculate the total cart. Finally, we need here to display at the bottom. Remember, we have here this code. This code is first gonna check whether the cart is empty or not. If the cart is not empty, which means that if there is something in the cart, then we need to display here. We need to say PHP, and then echo, and then we echo the $sign first, and then dot, and then we echo the session total. Session total, which is the total price. So let me now test. In order to test, we need to add different products. I'm gonna add here, I'm gonna go to the products page, and then I'm gonna order another meal. For example, this meal. So now we have 2 meals, and the total is 51.98. Let's check this. So the first product costs 37.99. The second product costs 13.99, and if you add these up, you will get 51.98. So now the total is correct. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to work on the checkout button. So once the user clicks on checkout, it takes the user to the checkout page where the user will be able to fill out the form and start the process of checking out. Let me head on over to the project to work on it. Now in the project, the first step is that we need to change this checkout.html from HTML to PHP. So I'm going to rename this file. I'm going to rename this from checkout.html to checkout.php. And then I'm going to hit enter. And then the next step is that we need to activate the form that would take the user to the checkout.php. And that is in the cart.php. So in the cart.php at the bottom you should find here this form. We have this form. So we need to activate this form. To activate this form, we need to give it a method and action. So I'm going to say method. The method is going to be get, and the action. The action is obviously the checkout.php. So I'm going to say checkout.php. And here the button should have here input, type submit, class button. Everything is fine here. Name, let's say checkout. out underscore btn. And that's it. Now we are done with this part. The second thing that we need to do is that we need to open the checkout. So in the checkout at the very top, before we echo any code or anything, we need to add here a code that would protect the page from users who would try to come to this page without adding something to cart. So the user should only be allowed to come to this page only if they have something in the cart. And to do this, we need to add here PHP code. I'm going to say PHP, and then I'm going to say session start. We need to start the session first. Session start, and then we need to say here if, and then if is set, and then session cart. If not, I'm gonna say here not if the session is not set, or if the session is empty. If empty, session cart, then at this point what we need to do is that we need to say header, and then location, and then index.php. So let me explain this code. This code is simply going to check whether the cart has been initiated. If there's something in the cart, then this code will not be executed and the user will be able to see this page. But if the cart is not set, or if the cart is set but it's empty, if user added something there to cart but removed it later, then we shouldn't allow them to see this page. Pretty simple. So this is what this code is going to do. It's going to protect this page. So let me save now everything. Let me save all. Let me test. So let's now test. In order to test, we need to add something to cart. So I have added this to cart, and let me click on checkout. So if I click on the checkout button, as you can see, it's going to take me to the checkout form. So this is the form that will allow the customer to check out. And the good news about this form is that it's not going to be displayed unless there's something in the cart. So if you go back and remove everything from the cart, for example, if you remove this from the cart, the user will not be able to go to the checkout page. As you can see, it's not gonna work. The checkout, you will find that we have here a form. In the checkout, you will find that we have a form here. We have this form. As you can see, we have this form, and this form has here name, email, phone, city, address, and we need to activate this form and make a new script that would allow the user to insert the data and make a new order. We need to open up the checkout.php, and then we need to activate this form. Remember, we have this form. Let's here give this form action and the method. So I'm going to say action. The action is going to be a file called place_order.php, and the method is going to be post request. And then we need to give these inputs names and make sure that everything is perfect. So here, for the first input, we need to make sure that it has a name. The second one is email. The third one is phone. The fourth one is city, and the last one is address. And the button also check out btn. So let's now create a new file called place order. So I'm going to create a file called place_order.php. And in this placeorder.php, what we want to do is that we want first to include the connection. We need to say connection. We need to say include connection, and then connection.php. And we also need the session. We need to say session start. And then what we want to do is that we need to say if the is set post checkout button check out btn then we want to get the data from the form and place the order. So what we want to get is that we want to get, remember, we want to get the name, the email, the phone, the city, and the address. So we want here to say, first we need the name. I'm going to say name. Name is equal to post name. And then we want the email. I'm going to say name and then email. Email is equal to post email. Email. And then we want the phone. We want phone post phone, and then we want the city for post city, and then we want the address and then after we get all of these, we want to place the order in the database. So we need to insert all of these in the database. Let me head on over to the PHP MyAdmin and open up the orders. As you can see, this is the orders table. So the orders table will have the order ID, the cost, the status, the name, the phone, the city, and the address, and the order date. So we need to insert these, and to insert these, we need to use MySQL here. I'm going to say con, and then prepare, and then what we want to insert is that we need to say insert into, and then the name of the table. The name of the table is orders, and then what we want to insert is that we want to insert the cost. Of course, the ID will be created by the database. You shouldn't be creating an ID. The ID is automatically created by the database. So we need to start by inserting the cost. So I'm going to say order cost, and then order status, and then username, phone, city. So we need to say user underscore name, and then user underscore email, and then user underscore phone, and then user underscore city, and then user underscore address, and then date, order date, and then order underscore date. So make sure that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have a problem here. We have username, email, phone, city, and address. So here phone, name, phone, city, address. We just need to insert the email. So I'm going to here say, I'm going to click here on one column, and then I'm going to say after the name, and then I'm going to click on go, and then I'm going to create a new field for the email. I'm going to say user email, and then I'm going to say text, and then I'm going to click on save. So we will have a new field for the email. So we need to get the order cost. The order cost is the total amount, and that can be fetched from the session. So we need to say order cost. Order cost is going to be equal. Order cost is going to be equal to the session total. So the total stores the total amount of money that the user is going to pay for all products. The total cart. And then the order status. The order status will always be order status. The order status will always be not paid, because at this point the user would just place an order but would pay later. So the user would first place an order and then pay. So the order status will be initially not paid, and then after the user pays, we can change this to paid. So initially it's going to be not paid, and then the we have everything. We have the order status and everything. The last thing is the order date. We need to say here order date. The order date is going to be equal to date, and then we can use this date, and then we can use any format you want. You can use the year, you can use for example, if you want to use the year, you can here say year, and then month, and then day. And this is going to insert the year, month, day. If you want the month and day, only the month and day, you can say MD, month and day. So I'm going to say year, month, day. And that's it. Let me now, after this, we need to continue. So after this, we need to store this in a variable called statement, and then we need to append all of these. So we need to append all of these by using here, by saying values. Here we need to say values, and then question marks. So how many question marks we want? We want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we need here to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we need to append these values. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say statement. Here I'm going to say statement, and then bind param. And then what we want to bind is that we want to bind the order cost, which is let's say the order cost is going to be the order cost. Let's say I for order cost, and then after the cost we want the order status. The order status is S. I stands for integer, S stands for string. So here I, and then S, and then the user name is S, and then the user email S, the user phone is I, the user city is S, the address is S, and the date is S. And then after that, we want to insert these values. So I'm going to start with the order cost, and then order status, and then username, which is name, just name, and then email, and then phone, and then name, email, phone, and then city, and then address, and then date. And finally, we need to execute this. So we need to execute this. We need to say statement, and then execute. So now we are done with the first part, which is inserting the order into the database. So we just need to save, and we will continue with the second part. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to get the products that the user bought and insert them into the order items table. So we need here to say if the statement if the execution was successful here, if we inserted this order into the database, then we need to continue. Else, if we say here not, if the execution failed, then we need to take the user to the home page. We need to say header, and then location index.php, and we need to exit. So if the execution, if there is something wrong, we need to exit this page, and we need to take the user to the home page, to the index page, which is the home page. Then after this, we need to get the order ID, because if this has been inserted successfully, the database would the database here would issue an ID for that order. So we need to get that order ID. So we need here to say order ID, and that order ID is going to be equal to statement, and then insert ID. This is going to return the ID of that order. So now we have the order ID. Now we can use this order ID to insert the data into the other table, which is the order items, which is this order items. So now we want to get the products, and to get the products we need to use the session. Remember, we have the session and we need to loop over the session and get each single product. So I'm going to say for each session cart as ID product as key value pair, and then we get each single product from the session, and then we insert it into the database. So we need to get first the product ID, the product name, the product quantity, all of these. So I'm going to say product is equal to session cart, and then we access that that product using its ID. So after we get that product, we need to access the product ID. We need to say product ID is equal to product ID, and then we repeat the same thing to access every single thing that this product and each product has. So each product has a product name and product image, all of these things. I'm going to say here product name, and then product image, product image, and then product price, product price, and then quantity, product quantity, and then product quantity, and make sure that the spelling is correct. After this, we need to insert each single product that has been stored in the session into the order items. So the order items would contain all items that the user added to the cart. So here I'm going to say statement 1 is equal to con, and then prepare, and then insert into what? We need to insert into order items, and then let me show you what we want to insert. I'm going to click on structure. So what we want to insert is that we want to insert the product, the order ID, the product ID, name, image, price, all of these things.